In this world, however, nobody calls him Spider-Man. People simply know him as Spider. And here's the first big twist. In this story, our Spider's real name is not Peter Parker. His name is Ben Reilly. For years, Ben protected the city just like any other Spider-Man. He swung through the streets, fought criminals, and risked his life to save innocent people. But everything changed in a single moment. The love of his life, Ruby Williams, was killed. We all know the famous Spider-Man lesson, with great power comes great responsibility. But after losing Ruby, Ben stops believing in those words. He blames himself for her death and feels that he failed to protect the person he loved the most. Because of that guilt, he completely gives up his life as a superhero. Nearly 5 years pass. Now Ben works as a private investigator. At the same time, another investigator named Patrick Donegal is searching for a mysterious man called Jimmy Edison. Ben and Patrick don't know each other at first, but they eventually discover that the same client hired both of them, only for different amounts of money. Naturally, Patrick is happy because he was paid more. Ben, on the other hand, is clearly annoyed. Even though they aren't partners, they are working on the same case. Eventually, Patrick finds Jimmy, but what he sees completely terrifies him. Jimmy's entire body is covered in flames. He possesses a supernatural ability very similar to the Human Torch, and fans of the Spider-Man Noir comics may recognize this kind of character as a version of Molten Man. Panicking, Patrick opens fire. Jimmy is badly wounded, and because his own burning body is already unstable, he dies in the flames. At the same time, Ben is working on another investigation. A client hires him to spy on his wife because he suspects that she is having an affair. While following her, Ben discovers something shocking. The man she is secretly meeting is none other than the city's mayor. Meanwhile, reporter Robbie Robertson visits Ben. Robbie believes that the city desperately needs Spider to return. He and Ben have known each other for years, and Robbie once worked at the Daily Bugle, the same newspaper that has always been connected to the Spider-Man legacy. For almost 5 years, Spider has disappeared from the streets. Without him, crime has spread across the entire city. That's why Robbie keeps telling Ben that it's finally time for Spider to come back. What Robbie doesn't know is that Ben himself is Spider, but Ben still can't escape the pain of losing Ruby. At that very moment, another man named Winston approaches Ben. He was also looking for Jimmy Edison and asks Ben a simple question. Why were you hired to find him, and why did the client trust you over everyone else? Ben already knows that Patrick killed Jimmy, but he decides to keep that truth to himself. There's something much bigger happening behind the scenes. Jimmy wasn't just an ordinary man. He had supernatural powers, and before his death, he apparently tried to burn down the mansion of the city's most powerful crime boss, Silverman. That's the real reason why everyone is looking for Jimmy. Ben also knows that Jimmy was shot by Patrick, but he keeps that information hidden. At the same time, one thing becomes very clear. Jimmy didn't simply die in a fire. He possessed a strange supernatural.
Excited! And that same power allowed him to survive inside the flames. More importantly, before his death, he had apparently tried to burn down the mansion of the city's most feared crime boss, Silverman. That's exactly why Silverman hired private investigators to track Jimmy down. He wanted answers. He wanted to know where that mysterious power came from, and more importantly, who had hired Jimmy to attack him. Meanwhile, Ben continues working on the adultery case. The client simply wanted to know who his wife was secretly meeting. During his investigation, Ben discovers that the woman has been having a secret relationship with the city's mayor. Ben secretly takes photographs of their meeting. Back at the office, his secretary Janet immediately realizes how valuable those pictures are. She tells Ben that they could easily sell them to a news agency or even use them to blackmail the mayor for a huge amount of money. The office is already struggling financially. Ben can barely pay Janet's salary. Even so, he refuses to use the photographs that way. Janet doesn't argue with him because she knows exactly what kind of person Ben is. He may be broke, but he still has principles. On the other side of the story, Silverman finally catches Patrick. His men torture him, demanding answers. They want to know where Jimmy is, and most importantly, who hired him to burn down Silverman's mansion. The truth is that Jimmy had developed powers similar to Molten Man and had genuinely tried to kill Silverman. But before Patrick can reveal anything useful, he admits that he shot Jimmy. That confession makes him completely worthless. Silverman gets rid of Patrick without hesitation. Now only one investigator remains, Ben Reilly. At the same time, Ben decides to meet the woman from the photographs. Her name is Kat Hardy. She works as a singer in a nightclub, and she was the one secretly meeting the mayor. Ben confronts her and even shows her the pictures, hoping to learn what kind of relationship she has with the mayor. Before he gets any answers, Kat's bodyguard steps in. His name is Flint Marco.
He forces Ben to leave, but the situation doesn't end there. A few moments later, Flint secretly attacks him. The photographs Ben took are connected to something much bigger, and Flint clearly wants them to disappear. A fight breaks out. During the battle, Ben notices something impossible. Flint's body begins turning into sand. This is no ordinary man. He is Sandman. Flint throws Ben from the top of a building, expecting him to die. But of course, Ben is Spider. He survives the fall without much difficulty. The next morning, Cat Hardy unexpectedly arrives at Ben's office. Flint has disappeared after the previous night's incident, and she wants Ben to find him. So Ben accepts another case. Officially, he is searching for Flint Marco. Unofficially, he feels that Cat is hiding something from him. She isn't telling him the whole truth. Even so, Ben decides to continue the investigation. He sends Janet to gather information through her own contacts while he personally searches Flint's apartment. There, he discovers an old photograph from World War I. The picture shows Flint Marco and Jimmy Edison serving together in the same military unit. That discovery raises even more questions. Both men possess supernatural powers. Both fought in the same war, and somehow they seem to be connected to the same mysterious past. Looking at that old photograph also awakens painful memories inside Ben, because he too was part of that war. Just then, Silverman's right-hand man, Winston, arrives at the apartment. Ben is forced to hide because he realizes that Silverman is desperately searching for Flint as well. Meanwhile, Janet manages to gather information from police records. She discovers that Flint Marco is far more than a simple bodyguard. He is a dangerous criminal with a long history of arrests. After comparing everything they have learned, Ben and Janet reach the same conclusion. Cat Hardy is deliberately hiding the truth about Flint Marco. Later, Ben decides to meet Cat Hardy once again. By this point, he has already gathered enough evidence to believe that she is hiding something important. He wants to drop the case and walk away, but before doing that, he shows Cat the old World War I photograph of Flint Marco and Jimmy Edison. The moment Cat sees the picture, her reaction changes. She admits that she knows Jimmy, but she avoids revealing the
true connection. At the same time, she explains something else. The nightclub where she performs and the old theater connected to it may officially belong to her, but in reality, they are all part of Silverman's empire. Silverman secretly controls the entire business. That is also the reason why Flint Marco is always around. He is not just Cat's bodyguard. He is also responsible for protecting Silverman's properties. While Ben and Cat are talking, Flint watches them from a distance. He doesn't interfere, but he clearly doesn't trust Ben. Meanwhile, Silverman has problems of his own. After losing Patrick and Jimmy, he becomes obsessed with finding the truth. He wants to know who is secretly working against him. More importantly, he wants to know whether Ben Reilly is hiding something. To test him, Silverman sends 2 of his men after Ben. Fortunately, Ben manages to escape. At the same time, the city's mayor is preparing for an important election campaign. Robbie Robertson continues his own investigation, and Ben warns him to stay away from the Jimmy Edison case. The deeper Robbie digs, the closer he gets to Silverman, and if Silverman's name becomes part of the investigation, Robbie's life will be in serious danger. But Robbie refuses to back down. Instead, he once again tells Ben that the city needs Spider to return. Determined to uncover the truth, Robbie travels into one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. There, he meets a mysterious man named Lonnie Lincoln. Lonnie knows far more about Jimmy Edison than anyone else. He reveals that Jimmy had developed strange fire-based abilities and that someone had hired him to burn down Silverman's mansion. However, Lonnie doesn't know who gave that order. He believes that Jimmy's girlfriend, Vera, may know the truth. Following that lead, Robbie goes to meet Vera. She doesn't reveal much, but Robbie notices one strange detail. She suddenly has access to a large amount of money. That immediately raises suspicion. Perhaps this is the same money Jimmy received for carrying out the attack, or perhaps someone paid him to eliminate Silverman. At the same time, Silverman's men begin threatening Janet. They pressure her repeatedly because they are desperately trying to find Ben. The threats become so serious that Janet even considers quitting her job. After all, protecting her own life is more important than anything else. Seeing the situation getting worse, Ben finally realizes that the case has grown beyond the abilities of an ordinary private investigator. The city is falling deeper into darkness. People are disappearing. Superpowered individuals are appearing one after another. Silverman's influence is spreading everywhere. And because of that, Ben understands one painful truth. Spider has to return.
He goes back to his old apartment, where he had hidden his spider suit years ago. On the other side of the story, Lonnie Lincoln secretly meets Flint Marco. From their conversation, we finally learn that Flint, Jimmy Edison, and Lonnie were all close friends. But there is another terrifying truth. The powers they gained are slowly becoming unstable. Jimmy lost control and died. Flint is becoming Sandman, and Lonnie is also beginning to change. Little by little, their powers are destroying them from the inside. Meanwhile, Silverman continues expanding his criminal empire through liquor smuggling and illegal businesses. His right-hand man, Winston, informs him that a new shipment has arrived at the docks. Silverman personally goes there to supervise the deal. But before he can reach the location, Spider suddenly attacks his convoy. He defeats Silverman's bodyguards and directly warns him to stay away from Ben Reilly and the people around him. Just like every other Spider-Man story, this world also has a secret. Everyone believes that Ben Reilly and Spider are simply good friends. No one suspects that they are actually the same person. However, after the attack, Ben learns something unexpected. The police had secretly planned to arrest Silverman at the docks. But because Spider interfered, the operation failed. Silverman escaped. Realizing this, Ben starts blaming himself. If Spider had stayed away, perhaps Silverman's story would have ended that very night. Instead, the city's most dangerous crime boss is still free, and the darkness surrounding the city continues to grow. After the failed operation at the docks, Ben returns to his office, but the mystery only grows deeper. Meanwhile, Robbie Robertson carefully studies the old photograph Ben recovered from Flint's apartment. Looking at it more closely, he realizes that Flint Marco, Jimmy Edison, and several other people with supernatural abilities, abilities all served together during the same war. Determined to uncover the truth, Robbie decides to track down Lonnie Lincoln once again. At that very moment, Silverman unexpectedly arrives at Ben's office. Surprisingly, he doesn't come to threaten him. Instead, he offers Ben a job. Silverman believes that someone within his own organization has betrayed him. Someone paid Jimmy Edison to burn down his mansion, informed the police about the dock operation, and is secretly working against him. He wants Ben to find that traitor. At the same time, Silverman also asks Ben to locate Flint Marco. Since Flint disappeared after the attack, Silverman has started suspecting him as well. Before leaving, Silverman pays Ben in advance and promises an even bigger reward if he solves the case. After Silverman walks away, Ben notices something unusual. Every dollar bill Silverman carries has a unique symbol marked on it. Later, while examining the money more carefully, Ben realizes that the same type of mark appears on the money connected to Cat Hardy and Flint Marco. Suddenly, everything starts making sense. Silverman marks every payment he makes. That way, he can always trace where his money goes and who receives it. At the same time, he is also trying to discover who informed the police about the shipment at the docks. Whoever leaked that information must be the traitor. Ben continues investigating while the police launch another operation. During the investigation, several officers reveal that the person who secretly informed them about Silverman's activities was none other than Mayor Morris. Meanwhile, the police raid a hidden neighborhood where Flint Marco and Lonnie Lincoln have been living in secret. A violent battle breaks out. Robbie secretly photographs the entire fight. At the same time, Ben finally uncovers the truth about the adultery case. The man who hired him was never trying to expose his unfaithful wife. His real goal was to blackmail the mayor. He knew that Cat Hardy had been meeting Mayor Morris in secret and wanted photographic evidence to make money from the scandal. But that only creates another mystery. Why was Cat meeting the mayor in the first place? Ben confronts Cat once again. She tells him that she wants him to stop looking for Flint. According to her, the case is becoming too dangerous. Ben refuses. He has already become involved in something much bigger than a simple investigation. Meanwhile, Robbie, Janet, and Ben combine everything they have discovered. Cat Hardy, Mayor Morris, Flint Marco, Jimmy Edison, Silverman. Somehow, all of them are connected. The more Ben thinks about it, the more he begins to suspect that Cat herself may be the mysterious traitor Silverman is desperately searching for. After all, Cat has close ties to Silverman. She runs one of his clubs. Flint Marco works as her protector, and she seems to know far more than she is willing to admit. Determined to find the truth, Ben meets Vera Edison. Vera admits that Jimmy was trying to escape from a very dangerous situation, but she refuses to reveal who paid him to attack Silverman. Ben realizes that her life is in danger, so he secretly gives her money and tells her to leave the city before it's too late. At the same time, Robbie finally gets the opportunity to return to journalism. He takes the photographs of the superpowered battle to the Daily Bugle, hoping they will publish the story. But things do not go as planned. The newspaper presents Flint Marco and Lonnie Lincoln as terrifying monsters. When Lonnie sees the article, he feels completely betrayed. He trusted Robbie. Instead, the entire city now sees them as creatures rather than human beings. On the other hand, Flint secretly meets Cat Hardy. The two of them are deeply in love. They dream about leaving everything behind and escaping together. But Flint already knows the truth. His powers are becoming more unstable every day. He can feel himself losing control, and because of that, he believes he can never give Cat a peaceful life. The darkness surrounding all of them continues to grow, and without realizing it, Ben Reilly is slowly being pulled toward the greatest mystery of his life. As the mystery grows deeper, the situation becomes even more dangerous. Flint Marco secretly arranges a meeting with Cat Hardy. He wants to leave the city with her and start a new life far away from Silverman's influence. The two truly love each other, but Flint knows that his powers are slowly consuming him. Every day, he feels himself losing more control. Deep down, he believes that staying with Cat will only put her life in danger. At the same time, Cat contacts Ben and asks him to meet her at Pennsylvania Station. The moment Ben arrives, he realizes that Cat may be planning to leave the city forever. Without wasting any time, Ben asks her two important questions. Was she the one who hired Jimmy Edison to burn down Silverman's mansion? And was she the person who informed the police about Silverman's secret deal with Mayor Morris? Before Cat can answer, Silverman's men arrive. Winston and his crew capture both Ben and Cat and take them to a remote forest. When they arrive, they discover that two graves have already been prepared. Silverman openly accuses Cat of betraying him. At the same time, he claims that Ben has been helping her from the very beginning. To make matters worse, Silverman's men also capture Vera Edison. Under pressure, Vera admits that Jimmy was indeed hired to attack Silverman, and that Cat Hardy was the one who provided the money. Cat desperately denies the accusation, but no one believes her. Ben and Cat are left completely helpless. Then something unexpected happens. Silverman discovers the money Ben secretly gave Vera to help her escape. As soon as he examines the cash, he notices a familiar symbol marked on it. It carries Winston's personal mark. As we already know, Silverman uses different symbols to identify every payment he makes. That discovery immediately shifts all suspicion toward Winston. What Silverman doesn't know is that Ben secretly stole money from Silverman's own vault, copied Winston's mark, and used it to frame him. Ben realized that Winston had been deeply involved in the Jimmy Edison investigation from the very beginning. Using that information, he created a perfect trap. Silverman falls for it. Without asking any questions, he orders Winston and his partner to be executed. With one move, Ben successfully removes one of Silverman's most dangerous allies. Later, we see Ben and Silverman sitting together in a nightclub while Cat Hardy performs on stage. Outwardly, everything appears calm, but underneath that calm surface, both men are trying to outsmart each other. The following morning, Ben arrives at his office with a terrible hangover. Janet and Robbie are already waiting for him. Meanwhile, Robbie continues searching for Lonnie Lincoln because he believes that the answers to the entire mystery are hidden within his past. He wants to know where these powers came from and why so many former soldiers developed supernatural abilities. On the other hand, Silverman confronts Cat about what happened at the train station.
Cat explains that she was not trying to run away with Ben. Ben had simply been watching over her as part of his investigation. Later, Ben secretly meets Cat again. This time, he asks her the question directly. Why did she really want Silverman dead? Cat finally reveals the truth. Long ago, Silverman promised her a better life and brought her into his world. But that promise slowly turned into a prison. Silverman became obsessed with controlling her. Whenever Cat grew close to someone else, that person suffered. She once fell in love with a man named Thomas. Silverman had him murdered. Later, she fell in love with Flint Marco. But as long as Silverman remained alive, neither of them could ever be free. That is why Cat and Flint decided to fight back. They hired Jimmy Edison and planned to eliminate Silverman once and for all. Unfortunately, the plan failed. Meanwhile, Flint sees Ben and Cat together and completely misunderstands the situation. Jealousy begins to consume him. He starts believing that Cat has fallen in love with Ben. At the same time, Robbie finally meets Lonnie Lincoln again and tries to apologize for the newspaper article that portrayed him and Flint as monsters. Lonnie is hurt, but he still decides to reveal the truth. He explains that during the war, he, Flint, Jimmy, and many others were captured by the Germans. Inside a secret prison camp, they were subjected to horrifying experiments. There, a mysterious scientist named Dr. Faber conducted research on them. According to Lonnie, that man may hold the secret behind all of their powers. And that single revelation changes everything. Ben finally realizes that this mystery is far bigger than Silverman, political corruption, or organized crime. The answer may be hidden in a forgotten chapter of the war itself.
As Lonnie reveals the truth about the war, the entire mystery begins to make sense. At the same time, Flint Marco is slowly being consumed by jealousy. After seeing Ben and Kat together, he convinces himself that Kat no longer loves him. Broken and filled with anger, Flint goes back to Silverman. He decides that there is no point in running anymore. If Kat has truly moved on, then he has nothing left to lose. From that moment on, he chooses to work for Silverman once again. Meanwhile, the relationship between Ben and Kat continues to grow. One night, Ben visits Kat and finally opens up about his past. He tells her that, years ago, he arrested a dangerous criminal. After spending years in prison, that criminal eventually escaped and came back for revenge. Unable to reach Ben directly, he targeted the person Ben loved the most, Ruby Williams. When Ruby was attacked, Ben was far away, living carelessly and trying to escape from his responsibilities. By the time he reached her, it was already too late. He could not save her. Ever since that day, Ben has blamed himself for her death. That guilt is the reason he abandoned his life as Spider. At the same time, Silverman, Mayor Morris, and the police commissioner continue their political games behind the scenes. It becomes clear that Silverman has enormous influence over the city's government. Politicians, police officers, and powerful businessmen are all connected to his criminal empire. While this is happening, strange reports begin spreading across the city. A mysterious creature is attacking people in the Diamond District. When Kat hears the news, she immediately fears the worst. She believes Flint may have completely lost control of his powers. However, when Spider arrives at the scene, he discovers that the attacker is not Flint at all. Instead, he comes face to face with another superpowered individual, a man capable of controlling electricity. Much like Electro from the classic Spider-Man stories, this mysterious figure possesses terrifying electrical abilities. In this world, however, he is known as Megawatt. A brutal fight begins. Unlike younger versions of Spider-Man, Ben is older and physically exhausted. The series constantly reminds us that he is no longer in his prime. Every punch hurts, every fall leaves a mark. The entire battle feels grounded and realistic, perfectly matching the dark atmosphere of the 1930s setting. Despite his condition, Spider manages to stop Megawatt. The people of the city cheer for him. Even Mayor Morris takes advantage of the moment and publicly stands beside Spider to gain political support. After all, Spider has become a symbol of hope once again. But someone else notices hope.
During the battle, Kat Hardy, the way Spider moves, the way he fights, the way he looks at the world, all of it feels strangely familiar. Later that night, Kat goes directly to Ben's apartment and asks him a simple question. Are you really Spider? Naturally, Ben denies everything. Kat refuses to believe him. To force him into revealing the truth, she suddenly jumps out of the window. Without even thinking, Ben rushes forward and saves her. That single moment destroys every doubt. Kat finally learns the truth. Ben Reilly and Spider are the same person. Instead of pulling them apart, the secret brings them even closer. Soon afterward, the two sit together in a quiet diner, and Ben tells her the story he has hidden for years. We finally learn how he became Spider. During the war, Ben and his fellow soldiers discovered a secret German prison camp. Inside that facility, horrifying experiments were being conducted on prisoners. While trying to rescue them, Ben encountered a strange creature that looked half human and half spider. The creature bit him. From that moment on, his body began to change. Slowly, he developed incredible powers and became the Spider. Ben also admits another painful truth. The reason he became so deeply involved in Flint Marco's case was not simply to solve a mystery. He wanted answers for himself. Flint, Jimmy, and the others gained powers after the war. Ben wanted to know if they had experienced the same thing he did. More importantly, he hoped they might know a way to get rid of those powers. Because to Ben, being Spider no longer feels like a gift, it feels like a curse. After losing Ruby, all he has ever wanted is to live a normal life again. Meanwhile, Robbie Robertson continues his investigation. Determined not to repeat the mistakes of the past, he searches for the connection between Flint, Lonnie Lincoln, and Dr. Faber. Little by little, the pieces begin falling into place. And soon, Ben realizes that the real nightmare did not begin with Silverman. It began in that forgotten prison camp many years ago. As Robbie continues digging into the past, a shocking truth begins to surface. He discovers that every person connected to these mysterious powers, Flint Marco, Lonnie Lincoln, Jimmy Edison, and several others, had one thing in common. After the war, they all came into contact with a scientist named Dr. Faber. Dr. Faber had been treating the survivors who escaped from the German prison camps. However, his treatment was not healing them. Instead, it was accelerating the strange mutations already growing inside their bodies. That explains why Flint, Lonnie, and Jimmy gradually lost control of their abilities. Their powers were never stable. They were slowly destroying them from the inside. Meanwhile, Flint Marco and Lonnie Lincoln are running out of hope. They know that their condition is getting worse every single day, and they realize that Dr. Faber can no longer save them. Rather than waiting for death, they decide to use whatever time they have left to live on their own terms. That decision eventually leads them back to Silverman.
Silverman, on the other hand, sees an opportunity. He wants an army of superpowered soldiers under his control. The stronger his followers become, the stronger his criminal empire will be. At the same time, Cat Hardy finds herself trapped once again. Silverman humiliates her in front of everyone and makes it clear that she is no longer important to him. The affection he once pretended to have is slowly disappearing. For him, people are nothing more than tools. Meanwhile, Robbie decides to meet Dr. Faber personally. He wants answers about the mysterious experiments that took place during the war. At the same time, Ben secretly enters Dr. Faber's office and searches for evidence. Inside, he discovers several confidential files connected to the old prison camp. Although he almost gets caught, he manages to escape. However, Dr. Faber's assistant, Ogden, recognizes him. He realizes that Ben was one of the soldiers who entered the prison camp years ago. In fact, Ogden himself was once trapped there and was among the people Ben helped save. As the night grows darker, the situation becomes even more chaotic. Flint and Lonnie rescue Megawatt from police custody. Silverman immediately welcomes him into his organization. A man with the power to control electricity is simply too valuable to ignore. Meanwhile, Ben meets Cat once again and tells her
Painful truth. Flint's body is rapidly breaking down. The more he uses his powers, the closer he gets to death. Cat refuses to believe it. She still loves Flint and cannot accept that his time may be running out. Ben tries to convince her to leave the past behind. He tells her that both Ruby and Flint have become shadows that continue to haunt their lives. Perhaps they still have a chance to build a future together. Slowly, feelings begin to grow between Ben and Cat. Cat dreams of leaving the city, starting her own business, and finally escaping Silverman's control forever. Ben promises that he will help her. For the first time in many years, Ben begins to imagine a normal life. He even shares his plans with Janet. Janet is genuinely happy for him. She has watched Ben suffer for years and believes he finally deserves some peace. But while Ben is starting to heal, Flint is falling apart. He secretly sees Ben and Cat together and misunderstands everything. He becomes convinced that Cat is leaving him for Ben. The truth is very different. Cat never stopped loving Flint. She only wanted to save him. Desperate for a solution, she turns to Lonnie. Lonnie tells her that Dr. Faber once mentioned a final possibility. There may still be one way to save Flint. That hope leads directly to Spider. According to Dr. Faber's research, there is something unique inside Ben Reilly's body. Unlike the others, his mutation remained stable. While everyone else continued to lose control, Ben survived. Somewhere inside his blood may exist the key to saving them all. At the same time, Dr. Faber and Ogden begin preparing to leave the city. Too many people are getting close to the truth. Their experiments can no longer remain hidden. Then Cat arrives and makes a desperate request. She asks Dr. Faber to reveal the true identity of Spider. If that secret can save Flint's life, she is willing to do whatever it takes. After a long silence, Dr. Faber finally reveals the truth. Spider's real name is Ben Reilly. And with that revelation, every secret that Ben fought to protect is suddenly placed in danger. After learning Spider's true identity, Dr. Faber's assistant, Ogden, pays Ben an unexpected visit. At first, everything seems normal. Ogden shows him an old photograph from the war. In that picture, Ben, Flint, Jimmy, and several others can all be seen inside the same German prison camp. Ogden himself was there as well. Because of the mutation inside his body, he has been aging at an unnatural rate, and his condition continues to get worse. Ben believes that Ogden has come to thank him for saving so many lives during the war, but he is completely wrong. Cat has already revealed Spider's identity. Ogden knows that Ben Reilly is Spider. Before leaving, Ogden asks Ben for one favor. He wants Robbie Robertson to stop investigating Dr. Faber and to prevent any information from being published. Ben refuses to interfere. He believes that Robbie has the right to uncover the truth. Later that night, as Ben prepares to leave the city with Cat, Ogden makes his move. He injects Ben with a powerful drug and knocks him unconscious. Ogden had hoped Ben would cooperate willingly, but when that failed, he had no choice but to force him. When Ben wakes up, he finds himself trapped inside Dr. Faber's secret laboratory. He is tied to a chair while Dr. Faber prepares to conduct another experiment. At the same time, we see a series of flashbacks. After the war, when Ben was bitten by the mysterious spider-like creature, military doctors secretly experimented on him. They discovered that his body had undergone extraordinary mutations. Instead of helping him, they treated him like a test subject. Ben was tortured, examined, and studied for years.
Now history is repeating itself. Dr. Faber finally reveals his true motive. He is not simply a mad scientist. He is a desperate father. Ogden is his son. The mutation inside Ogden's body is killing him, and Dr. Faber is willing to do anything to save his life, even if it means sacrificing Ben. Using Ben's blood, tissue, and genetic material, Dr. Faber begins a series of experiments. At first, every attempt fails, but eventually he discovers something incredible. Unlike the other mutated individuals, Ben possesses a unique biological element that stabilizes his powers. That same element may be capable of saving others.
Dr. Faber successfully creates a serum and injects it into Ogden. Almost immediately, the treatment works. Ogden's condition improves and his body begins to recover. For the first time in years, Dr. Faber believes that he has saved his son. But success creates a new problem. As long as Ben remains alive, the truth about these illegal experiments can never stay hidden. Dr. Faber realizes that he must silence him forever. After all, he kidnapped Ben. He experimented on him against his will. He stole his blood and tissue samples. If the world learns the truth, everything he built will collapse. Fortunately for Ben, Ogden is not as ruthless as his father. He remembers the soldier who once saved his life. When Ben finally manages to break free using his spider abilities, Ogden catches him, but instead of stopping him, he repays the debt he owes. He secretly allows Ben to escape. At the very same moment, Robbie Robertson publishes the investigation he has been working on. He steals Dr. Faber's research files and exposes the truth to the entire city. The report reveals the existence of the secret laboratory and the horrifying experiments carried out on innocent people. The news reaches Silverman almost immediately. Silverman sees an opportunity. If these superpowered individuals can be controlled, they could become the ultimate criminal army. Without wasting any time, he and his men head toward Dr. Faber's hidden laboratory. But what they discover inside is beyond anything they expected. The laboratory is filled with glass containers holding the remains of failed experiments. Countless victims never survived the mutation process. Some of them died in agony. Others transformed into monsters before losing their lives. Seeing the horrifying truth, Flint, Lonnie, and the others realized that they were never special. They were simply survivors of a terrible experiment. Consumed by rage, Megawatt attacks Dr. Faber. Ogden tries to protect his father, but he is caught in chaos. A violent explosion erupts, and the entire laboratory catches fire. By the end of the disaster, both Dr. Faber and Ogden lost their lives. Ben, however, manages to escape. Before leaving, he recovers his spider suit and discovers something extremely important. Dr. Faber had created an antidote, a serum capable of removing the unstable mutations from the human body. For Ben, that antidote means something more. If he uses it on himself, he may finally lose his powers and become an ordinary man again. For the first time in many years, Ben stands before a choice: remain Spider or become the normal person he has always wanted to be. After escaping from Dr. Faber's laboratory, Ben realizes that the nightmare is far from over. At the same time, Silverman returns to his headquarters with Flint Marco, Lonnie Lincoln, and Megawatt. His next move is simple. He wants the entire city to understand who truly holds power. To achieve that, he orders his superpowered followers to spread chaos everywhere. Meanwhile, the political war between Silverman and Mayor Morris reaches its peak. Following Silverman's instructions, Flint and Megawatt attack the mayor's office. Government employees panic as the building falls into chaos. The money that was meant to fund the election campaign is stolen. Instead of keeping it, Silverman's men distribute the cash among the poor citizens of the city. The goal is obvious. They want to destroy Mayor Morris's reputation and shift public support toward his political rivals. While the city is falling apart, Kat Hardy rushes to Ben's office. There, she meets Janet and Robbie. She desperately asks for their help because Ben has disappeared. In reality, Kat already knows the truth. Dr. Faber revealed Spider's identity to her, and she knows that Ben Reilly and Spider are the same person. Even so, she keeps that secret hidden because she is genuinely worried about him. On the other side of the city, Mayor Morris discovers that all of his election money has been stolen. Even the police commissioner, who had been working with him, begins to lose hope. According to him, only Spider can save the city now. But where is Spider? Ben is sitting alone, quietly drinking. He feels completely betrayed. Kat exposed his identity. Dr. Faber is dead. The truth about his past has been revealed.
For a brief moment, he thinks about abandoning everything. As he sits there, he overhears people talking about the attack on the mayor's office. Some of them even mock Spider, claiming that the city would be better off without him. Ben listens in silence, but only for a moment. Then he stands up. He puts on the spider mask once again. No matter how much pain he carries, he cannot ignore people who need help. The action sequences that follow perfectly capture the tone of the series. Ben is older. He is exhausted. He is still recovering from his injuries. Sometimes he is even fighting while under the influence of alcohol. Every movement feels heavy. Every punch costs him energy. Unlike the colorful superhero stories we usually see, these fights feel brutal and realistic. After the battle, Robbie brings Ben back to the office. There, Ben finally tells him everything. He admits that, at first, being Spider felt exciting. Saving people gave his life meaning. But over the years, that same responsibility became a burden. Now he sees his powers as a curse. That is why the antidote means so much to him. If he uses it, he can finally become an ordinary man again. Unfortunately, the situation is much more complicated. Flint Marco and Lonnie Lincoln also need that antidote. Their mutations are becoming unstable, and without help, they will eventually die. A small but emotional moment follows. Ben accidentally reveals his identity to Janet. Instead of being shocked, Janet simply smiles. She already knew. Ben had told her the truth many times before while he was drunk, and she never forgot it. Meanwhile, Flint meets Kat and openly confesses his feelings. Watching Kat grow closer to Ben has broken him emotionally. Ben, on the other hand, divides the antidote into several smaller doses. He prepares enough for Flint, Lonnie, and even for himself. He believes that without powers, there will be no responsibilities. Perhaps he can finally live a peaceful life. But before he can make that choice, terrible news arrives. Silverman's men have launched another attack. This time, they have targeted a police warehouse in Harlem. Without hesitation, Ben becomes Spider once again and rushes to the scene. A fierce battle begins between Spider and Lonnie Lincoln. Ben tries to inject him with the antidote, but Lonnie's mutated body is too strong. The syringe cannot penetrate his skin. At the same time, Ben is still physically weak. He has not fully recovered. Lonnie overpowers him and nearly defeats him. Just when everything seems lost, Robbie arrives. Taking a huge risk, he manages to inject the antidote directly into Lonnie's eye. The serum works. For the first time in a long time, Lonnie returns to normal. Freed from the curse that haunted him for years, he helps Ben and Robbie escape. But the victory comes with a price. Spider is badly injured once again. And while he is trying to recover, Silverman learns about the existence of the antidote. Now both Silverman and Mayor Morris want the same thing. They need Ben Reilly, because whoever controls the antidote may ultimately control the fate of the entire city. After the battle in Harlem, Spider manages to survive, but the situation across the city
grows even worse. Silverman soon learns that Spider possesses an antidote capable of removing the unstable mutations. To him, that serum is more valuable than money or political power. At the same time, Mayor Morris also hears about it. Now, both sides want the same thing. They want Ben Reilly. They believe that whoever controls the antidote will control the future of the city. Meanwhile, Silverman decides to open up to Kat Hardy. He tells her the story of his past and explains how he climbed out of poverty and built his criminal empire. According to him, the world only respects those who take what they want. Weak people wait for opportunities. Strong people create them. Kat silently listens, but she knows that everything Silverman built was founded on fear, violence, and manipulation. Later, Kat goes to meet Janet. The meeting quickly turns emotional. Janet slaps Kat across the face. She blames her for betraying Ben and revealing secrets that should never have been exposed. Kat accepts the blame. She admits that she made terrible mistakes, but she still wants to fix them. More than anything, she wants the antidote. She believes it is the only thing that can save Flint Marco. At the same time, Flint and Megawatt are waiting outside Ben's office. Silverman has ordered them to capture Ben and bring him in alive. However, Megawatt is becoming increasingly unstable. His powers are difficult to control, and he starts questioning Silverman's authority. He asks Flint a simple question. If we're stronger than everyone else, why are we still taking orders from him? Meanwhile, Janet secretly goes to Robbie's house because Ben is hiding there. Not long afterward, Flint and Megawatt track them down. Their mission is simple. They want Ben to arrange a meeting with Spider. As always, the entire city believes that Ben and Spider are close friends. Ben pretends to cooperate. He agrees to contact Spider, but only if he is paid $2,000. Silverman accepts the deal. Ben then makes a phone call. On the other end of the line is Robbie Robertson. Pretending to be Spider, Robbie disguises his voice and speaks with Silverman. For a brief moment, the plan works perfectly, but then everything starts to fall apart. Megawatt suddenly recognizes Ben. During the war, Ben rescued many prisoners from the German camp, and some of them never forgot his face. A terrible suspicion enters Silverman's mind. What if Ben Reilly and Spider are actually the same person? To confirm the truth, Silverman creates a cruel test. He points a gun at Cat Hardy. His logic is simple. If Ben is only an ordinary detective, he will do nothing. But if he is really Spider, he will risk everything to save her. Unfortunately, Ben is still weak and injured. His powers have not fully recovered. For the first time in a long while, he cannot act. Then Cat makes a decision. She steps forward and confesses everything. She admits that she was the one who hired Jimmy Edison to attack Silverman. She admits that she passed information to Mayor Morris and helped set the trap at the docks. And finally, she admits one more truth. Despite everything that happened, she still loves Flint Marco. Silverman completely loses control. In a fit of rage, he prepares to kill Cat. At that exact moment, Spider appears. But there is one problem. The person wearing the Spider costume is not Ben. It is Robbie Robertson. While everyone is distracted, Silverman's men capture Janet and recover the antidote. Believing that Robbie is the real Spider, Megawatt injects him with the serum and then electrocutes him. Robbie collapses to the ground. But that was exactly the opportunity Ben needed. His strength has finally returned. Realizing that all of his friends are in danger, Ben stops hiding. He launches a direct attack and fully embraces his identity as Spider once again. The final battle has begun. With Ben finally reclaiming his strength, the last battle of the story begins. Janet and Robbie are in danger. Cat is standing face to face with Silverman. Flint Marco and Megawatt have completely lost control of their powers. At this point, Ben no longer cares if the world discovers his secret. The only thing that matters is saving the people he loves. A brutal fight breaks out. Spider takes on Flint and Megawatt at the same time, while Cat finally gets the opportunity she has been waiting for. For years, Silverman can
her life. He manipulated her. He destroyed every relationship she ever had. He turned her entire existence into a prison. This time, however, Cat refuses to be controlled. Silverman tries one last time to manipulate her emotions, but she no longer listens. Instead, she takes out a gun. And after years of fear and suffering, Cat Hardy shoots Silverman. The city's most powerful crime boss finally falls. At the same time, the battle between Spider and the superpowered enemies reaches its peak. Megawatt's powers spiral completely out of control. Spider tries to stop him, but Ben is exhausted and can barely keep fighting. His webbing is not enough to contain Megawatt's electrical attacks. Seeing Ben in danger, Cat rushes forward to protect him. But tragedy strikes. Megawatt accidentally electrocutes Cat. Watching the woman he loves collapse to the ground drives Flint Marco into a rage. Flint may have become Sandman, but beneath all those powers, he is still a man who loves Cat with all his heart. Without hesitation, he turns against Megawatt. A spectacular battle follows. Flint uses his sand abilities to trap Megawatt's body. The intense electrical energy turns the sand into glass-like crystals. Then, with one devastating blow, Flint shatters them. Even after that, Megawatt refuses to give up. Spider gathers every bit of strength he has left and launches one final attack. He throws Megawatt directly into the path of an oncoming train. The impact ends the fight once and for all. With the battle finally over, Ben uses the antidote on Flint Marco. The serum works exactly as Dr. Faber predicted. Flint loses his unstable powers and returns to being an ordinary human being. For the first time in a long time, he is finally free. A few days later, the story begins to settle down. Silverman's funeral takes place. Flint and Cat are seen together once again, and Ben is there as well. However, the relationship between Ben and Cat has changed. Ben cannot forget that Kat revealed his secret to Dr. Faber, and deep inside, he also realizes that Kat never truly stopped loving Flint. Because of that, he chooses to walk away. Meanwhile, Mayor Morris wins the election once again. Robbie Robertson also decides to leave the Daily Bugle behind and create his own newspaper. He names it Harlem Herald. Ben starts a new chapter of his own life as well. His detective agency moves forward with a fresh beginning, and Janet receives the recognition she deserves for standing beside him through everything. But one question still remains. What happens to Spider? The city's greatest crime boss is dead. The superpowered threats are gone. Peace has finally returned. Yet Ben understands something that he learned long ago. Spider is not just a mask. It is a part of who he is. For years, he tried to suppress that side of himself. He treated it like a monster living inside him. But no matter how hard he tried, Spider never disappeared. Perhaps Ben was step away from the life of a hero for a while. Perhaps he will finally find a little peace. But if the city ever falls into darkness again, the Spider inside him will return.